Welcome back, everyone. It's time to get real with Real Talk. So how often do your friends come to you for advice? Well, you might want to think twice before giving it next time. A TV anchor recently got some mixed reactions after saying, quote, the quickest way to lose a friend is by giving them advice they don't want to hear. So we decided to dive into this slippery slope. Joining me today, fabulous Kara Kinnear, fabulous comedian, lawyer, dad, awesome all-around guy, Jamie Bendel, and Nikki Bugs is back. And Nikki, for anybody who didn't watch last time, make sure everybody knows who you are and what you do.
I'm a self-proclaimed millionaire. No, I'm kidding. Oh,
I like that.
I am an actor, producer, director, and trained dancer.
Awesome. And you've lived here in Atlanta how long?
Over 6 years.
Over 6 years.
Yeah.
And we thought this would be a good thing to kind of dive right into because it's funny. The question that I thought, how often do friends come to ask you for advice? I thought, not that often. Does somebody say, hey, I really need your advice? I don't know. What do you think, Kara?
I don't know. Maybe I'm that friend because I get asked for advice all the time. But I do feel that I don't know if I'm good at giving advice, but I'm a good listener.
Yes, you are.
I do think you have to know your audience too. Like if I'm going to say something that I think might hurt your feelings or something that you need to know, I'll preface it with like, I'm going to tell you the truth now, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This might not be what you want to hear.
But
it's coming at you quick.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, do you want the truth? It's always my disclaimer. Do you want the truth or you want me to pat you on the head?
Yeah. Right, and have you ever been in a situation where the truth didn't go so well? Jamie, I'll come back this way.
You know, my best friend asks me for advice all the time, or at least I think she does, and I'm referring, of course, to my wife, Kelly. And then she says I wasn't asking for your advice. So there's a lot of times where I feel like I'm giving the wrong advice.
I don't know there was a comedian that performed at the Punchline, that Brett Ernst. When he was on this table, I remember something he said, and he said, when my wife asks me for advice, I say directly to her, do you want me to solve it or do you want me to listen? Like, and I'm like, that's so good because a lot of times we don't want you to solve anything, we just want you to listen.
Yeah.
Right?
And I will say, this anchor shared, she often gives her friend advice that she doesn't believe in just to avoid a disagreement or an argument. I don't
well, that
like
you can't do. I don't think you can really do
Nikki,
that.
what do you think about that?
You know what, I have to disagree with that.
Yeah, me too.
I think at a particular point in time, if we're friends and I come to you and I say, guys, I need to get your honest opinion, I expect you to give me your honest opinion. Whether I like it or not is irrelevant. I've asked.
Right.
So I need to be more receptive to, receiving that criticism.
How terrible.
I
I
know,
want to
that's
do more
so
damage than, good.
Right.
Yeah, agreed.
That's really sad. It's like there's no growth in that, right?
No,
at all.
Yeah.
And part of it is, I think, sometimes trying to help people identify what it is really the issue that they're seeking advice on. So is it advice like, hey, do you understand the difference between whole and term life insurance? That's one kind of advice. The other is,
that's boring,
I found a bag of pills in my kid's dresser. What should I do? Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, Jamie, that just took me. She's only 9, so I don't have to worry about that. But wow, that just took me. I went from boring.
But those are the kinds of things, right? That you, I mean, so are the people who you seek advice from, are they people that you're just looking for experience reference to say, I've never done this before, you have experience with it, what was that experience like?
Right.
Or are you really looking for actual solutions?
Yeah, let me ask you guys, because Jim is so good at this. He is such a great devil's advocate. Like, I could be like, Kara upset me today at work. I never say that ever.
I'm sorry.
But Jim will say like, well, did you think, like, all the time. And don't you, see, I mean, in the moment, you're sort of like, oh, come on. But don't you appreciate it when someone is actually saying, take a minute, step back, and let's put yourself in their shoes. We don't do that enough. So, Nikki, right, if somebody is really playing devil's advocate with you, but you're hot about something, is that going to bother you, or do you take a minute and do you finally eventually go, okay, I see this?
Well, typically, me personally, I'm really methodical about a great deal of things. So usually, I don't react on emotion.
Ooh, that's good.
So I typically do not.
Opposite of me. That's
good.
I know.
So I typically don't, but I do take a second and I'm analyzing as I'm talking to you, and then once I realize it may be going awry, I start coming up with a solution at that point. So I think each circumstance and situation has its own merit to it, though. But for me personally, Let's say if I had a moment and I just totally nutted up and you guys had to pull me in, Nikki, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
I would actually probably listen to you. Otherwise, you're going to cluck me upside the head and knock me out until I pull myself together.
Yeah.
So it's just, for me, it's just a matter of just, if this is the case, taking a breath. And stepping back and really being prepared for the actions of your anger if you say something in the immediate moment.
Right.
Well, and a lot of times, right, our process of talking about things is driven by our comfort with the situation we find ourselves.
Correct. That is correct.
Right? So, like,
Hold on, let me write that down. Say that again. I like that. Our process
of trying to seek advice is driven by our comfort level with the subject matter, right? So when you're a little kid, you've all had little kids, right? We all try to sometimes solve a problem ourselves and then realize we're maybe in over our heads, maybe we don't have the right resources, and so there's a vulnerability that comes from saying, I'm having a problem and I need your help with something.
Yeah.
And that exposes us to maybe not hearing the feedback that we want.
Right.
And it shouldn't be the cause of breaking up a relationship. It should really be a recognition of we should have to address what the issue is that caused us to seek the advice in the first place.
So can I pitch something to you for a second? Being parents, if you had a friend and you had a moment and you just said, okay, I just don't know what to do, and you spoke with a friend and said, what do you recommend? And you love your kid to death, your kid can do no wrong, and the person gives you the advice and you're not quite keen on the advice. It is the right thing to do, but you're not quite keen on it. How do you handle that? Because what I notice is a lot of parents want to be the friends of the child.
Well, that's the first
problem.
Yeah, that's the
first problem. And then my mom was like, she did not care whose fault it was. It was always my fault, right? So I got no breaks, no slack. And that really did help because life is much easier to live when it's not all about you, right?
Yeah.
So when you're not so self-absorbed that everything is happening to you, you can kind of look outside of that and think, okay, this has less to do with me and more to do with that other person. No matter what it is, it kind of makes it a little bit easier to deal with.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I think if somebody was really coming to me from a healthy place and trying to make me see something, I think I would, it may be hard to actually put whatever the suggestions were in action, but if you can take a deep breath and say, this is a good solution, I really want to try this. But I know my daughter's 9. I'm not yet to the teenage years, but I know everybody seems to be these days like you really want to be their friend. And you're just, Jamie, you know, you have the teens.
Oh my goodness, do I ever. And here's what I always am telling them. Stop texting to your friends about issues that matter. Right, so if so don't be soliciting advice, and so much goes off the rails. Like if it's sending an email to somebody to say, what do you think I should do here? And now you're alone and taking it out of context. And when providing advice, if you ask me a question, I want to see, can I tell by your body language you're struggling with it? Are you hesitating in your voice? All of that gets lost.
That gives me so much anxiety. I can't imagine being a teenage girl and then having to decipher everything via text that was going on in my life. I'd be like, what is happening?
It's
too much.
I like that's the advice because it's too much. And by the way, any texting period, I think, can be. I mean, there's always room for a misinterpretation.
And emails.
And emails, by the way, and emails. The wrong, you only put a period instead of an exclamation point. Oh, they're not happy with that thought.
Exactly.
I will say, getting back to this, I know we have to wrap it up. Like, one thing I love about Kara, and there are friends out there that I know won't do this, Kara is a great devil's advocate, and she's not the first person to say, I'm right. Like if I'm talking about Jim, she's not that person that's going to be like, Jim is an idiot, or whatever. She'll always, even if she might be saying that really wasn't the right thing to do, she always comes from that place. And so I love that. Like if I think I'm going to go bash on Jim, which I don't, honey, Kara's not the person to do it with, because she's going to go, let's talk about what role you had.
I think that's a really good point, though, to make quickly, is that when I am coming into your relationship or anybody's relationship, you guys are the team, right? You and Jim are the team, and you and your partner, whomever that, you guys are the team. So if I can help shed light on whatever you're going through, but I think that's a really fine line when you start giving people relationship advice about their
relationship.
Yes,
when
hard.
You're not in it, right? God, I hate that we have to go. We want you to weigh in. We want you to weigh in. Tell us, do you give advice freely? Has it ever backfired on you? We want to hear. Facebook.com/ATL and Co. Trending with Trent is up next. Trent always gives great advice. And he always puts a nice filter on our pictures, which we so appreciate.